Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 153. We're going to do what we do most Sundays here, usually at 1 p.m., but we're a little bit later today. But we like to have a show where we help you guys try to get your game up to the next level, and we do that by having a topic that we discuss up at the top here. And while we're talking about that, you guys are sending us your questions, and when we're done with our topic, we will get back to your questions and answer as many of them as we possibly can. And those questions can be anything basketball related, whether it's shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, coaching, athletic training, athletic conditioning. You tell us, and we will try our best to give you guys the answers that you need. So what we're going to do is, what I want to remind you of too is that this is our longer form live show. If this is not your thing, that's totally cool. Go watch our other videos in our library that teach you all the things that you need to do in our tutorials. That's totally cool. This is for people that want to have some one-on-one time with us and figure out some answers to their questions. Okay, so our topic for today is 3 keys for success in basketball.
Yeah.
So we think that these are 3 things that you guys can easily digest and hopefully turn you into a great basketball player.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
so where do we start?
Okay. The process of developing yourself into an athlete of any kind, whether it's basketball, football, soccer, whatever, is the development of skills. And one of the things that is really important is taking smaller steps in the beginning. One of the things that some players try to do is to execute a lot of different moves, maybe with a basketball, and they don't have good ball skills.
Or they set a giant goal.
Oh yeah,
And-
which is unachievable. Yeah.
It's not that it's not even unachievable. It's just the fact that you set it so far off.
Oh, yeah.
That it's like the process of getting there is going to be so frustrating, and it's going to be hard to get there that you probably will give up in that time.
Right. So the small steps in the beginning are really important. Those small steps might be something like this: taking and working on your shot and just working on a slow speed, just focusing on the elements of your shot at a slow speed. That's a small step. And then as you begin to get a little bit more comfortable with that, then you begin to maybe speed it up. And then maybe what you do is you add some movement to the shot, meaning that now you add the dribble, because basketball is played in with these kinds of things. Set shots, where the most prominent one probably in basketball today is the free throw. Then they're catch and shoot, and then finally shooting off the dribble. And so we want to start in the smaller spot and develop that particular element first, and then maybe move on to another one and let the thing kind of grow step by step.
Yeah, it's what we call a progression.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to force things to happen, you're kind of laying the proper foundation and groundwork for it to progress, and in a way where it's going to kind of be there down the road.
Yeah, one of the things that I run into a lot too are young players who will come in the first time I've seen them, and they'll say, "I've got a great step back," and then they show it to me, and it's awful because they have just not really done their homework on how to get it done. So those are the small steps that we're talking about, just the smaller elements of a better stroke, a better ball handling skill, a better crossover, a better flat back. All those things are really important for you to develop your game.
And
you don't get it all at once.
Yeah, and think about all the complex elements that go into each aspect of basketball. If we're talking about shooting, I mean, there's so many moving parts. There's so many different elements that you have to bake in to make it work.
Right.
And if you're trying to jam all that into one, like let's say you just go out there and you try to force all those things to happen, and you've never done them before, or you're not really using the groundwork to get there, then it's probably not going to be optimized or efficient. Yeah. So if you break it down and you do each piece and you try to build each piece properly, you're going to find that when you get to as you progress, that it's going to be there for you, and it's going to be consistent, and it's going to be efficient, and you're going to be able to execute these things in a way that most people probably aren't, because they didn't go about taking the time to do that stuff.
Yes, very true. Item number 2 is focus on what you can control. Some things in the game of basketball you can't control when you're a newbie. You're just learning how to play the game, and maybe the thing that I see most common in this regard is players that are playing out of control. They're playing too fast, faster than their skills will allow them to play.
And forcing it.
And they turn the ball over. And so what you need to do is, the word here I think is just awesome, and that is control. You want to control what you do in developing your game and playing your game. That control gives you an opportunity to grow when you have that control. Whenever you're playing out of control, you don't really grow very much at all because you're just in a total panic mode most of the time. And I was talking to one player this afternoon, and his brother was with him, and I have coached both of them in their shooting and whatnot. And the one of them, the older one, had never really shot the ball much when he was in high school. And I asked him why, and he says, "Well, because I was afraid to shoot." And so that is something that he could control if he wanted to, but he didn't know how to do that. And so we spent a few minutes just kind of talking about you need to learn how to control all these elements of your game.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to be realistic about what your capabilities are. And whether that's, you trying to force something that you haven't put the work in for, like you're talking about. So maybe shooting a deeper shot, maybe you haven't put the work in to do that. So don't do that until you put the work in to make it happen. Or if it's, post moves or whatever, you need to really make sure that you're building those things behind the scenes before you start unleashing them on people when it counts.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of it too is that there are other things that you can control and can't control. And I think that one of the ones that we talk about a lot are these physical attributes. Yes. So you can't control your height. And so many people get caught up in that, especially when it comes to basketball, because
dunking. I mean,
okay. Well, that's the
where
other
you're
thing.
Going, huh?
Well, no, I mean that's back to the other thing too. But I think that's a mix of things. But if you are forcing, or if you're so caught up in your height because there's such a premium on it in basketball and people make such a big deal out of it, I mean, you cannot do anything about it.
Right.
You can't drink anything. You can't take a pill. You can't hang upside down. You will not grow any taller than you basically are predetermined to be because of your genetics.
Right.
So I would say forget about it. And in the best case scenario, use the things that come along with your height as strengths and things that you actually are kind of exploiting. So
that brings up an interesting question, Casey, and that is, what are the things that you really probably possess when you're a smaller player that bigger players don't possess?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that people don't do is they always think about the things that they don't have or that they're missing out on.
Yeah.
Taller players don't have exclusivity on the best attributes of basketball. Taller players are probably not going to be as quick. They're probably not going to be as agile. They're probably not going to be as fast. And so use those things against them. Yeah. They also use some psychology too. Those taller guys are going to think that they can block your shot pretty much at will because they're taller. Yeah. So use that against them. Give them one shot fake and those guys are up in the air because they are anticipating that they're going to send your shot into the third row. Right. Get them up in the air and either go by them or get them up in the air, create some contact, put the ball up and get a foul on them and get the and one. Right. I mean, don't act like you are, predestined for weakness or that you are not, worthy of playing basketball. That's so lame.
Yeah.
So focus on not being caught up in that.
Right.
If you're going to focus on something that goes along with something like your height, focus on the good attributes of that.
Absolutely.
And like you were saying, the dunking thing, so many people get caught up in that. Like if they are able to dunk, then suddenly they will be drafted in the first round of the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And it's like that doesn't happen either.
Yeah.
Dunking is such a small aspect of basketball in reality. I mean, the NBA really plays that up because those guys are giant guys that are athletic and huge, and it's obviously exciting and everything. But you as a player, that should not be a focus of your development. Right. Focus on the skills that pay the bills, making the shots, playing defense, making your free throws, having some dribble executions and dribble attacks and post moves. Okay. Just be an all-around versatile player. Dunking is so not important. Yeah. There are, Steve Nash, never probably, I don't think he ever dunked in a game, but he's going to go into the Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah.
So, soak on that for a little bit.
Okay, so we're focusing on what you can control. That's what that element is. And so the final one we want to throw out there is this: be patient. And be patient means this, that take the time to develop your skills to a high level. One of the things that often happens with players is that they're in a hurry to get good. They're in a hurry to get great. And so their footwork is not very good. Their ball skills maybe is not very good. And so they become players who are not very good. Okay. And you can take most people who have reasonable athleticism, and doesn't have to be great, and who have a learning curve that they can really work with, they can become pretty efficient players because they are being patient and learning how to shoot the ball, the footwork of shooting, the footwork of defense, the footwork of finishing at the basket, jump stops, and all that kind of stuff. So you want to be really make yourself better by slowing down and not trying to rush through it all. And you'll find that your skills will go along fairly evenly upward over a period of time. And then what was going to happen is you'll see a big jump.
One thing to always remember is that you can't rush any of these things.
No, that's
you can't force yourself to be a great shooter in less time.
Yeah.
You have to put in the work.
Exactly.
And if you look at these great players, whether it's Steph Curry or LeBron James or Michael Jordan or fill in the blank anybody, these are not people that just showed up on the court and hadn't put in the work.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so if you want to be successful too, you have to use your brain. You have to pre-plan your workouts. You have to kind of set some very incremental goals, and you will find that if you are slowing it down, putting the pieces all together, that you will be much more successful than if you go out there and you're just going at it.
Exactly.
And one of the things that people criticize club team basketball or AAU basketball for is that's kind of the model that they're playing under, is going out there and just kind of doing stuff, forcing things to happen without really any attention to skill development. And skill development is really where the individual is going to kind of start to develop and become better basketball player just in their own right.
So those three things that we're putting out there that will help you make you successful as a basketball player.
Well,
again,
those are three good
ones.
Ground rules to kind
Absolutely.
of incorporate into your life.
Right. And so let's list them again. First of all, we've got take small steps. That's really important. Number two, let's take and focus on what you can control and what you can't control. And then the third one is let's be patient in our development. Don't try to go faster than you're able to do. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Hope that helps.
And those things, not just basketball. I mean, those are life things, and other sports. All of that translates.
Yeah.
Okay. So while you guys were listening to that, hopefully that helps you and makes you a great player, and you're able to kind of turn that around for yourself. But also, you were sending us questions in the chat, and we want you to keep sending those questions to us. And if you want to send them to us on Twitter or wherever, we are at Shot Science. And make sure you follow us on Facebook, Google+, Instagram, and Snapchat, and whatever. We are Shot Science on all those things, and we would love to have you guys there doing different things on different places.
All
right. So keep sending your questions, and it would also be awesome if you guys could each go out and tell one or two people to watch these live streams or to follow us on social media and join Team Shot Science, because if you guys do that, it helps us do cool things for you guys too. And now we're going to ask our question of the week that we ask every single time that we have one of these live shows, and that is this.
Where are you located? I see somebody here already I can't read his name, but he is from Oman. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Where are you guys from? Are you what country in the world are you from? We are here in Santa Cruz, California, which is south of San Francisco. But we want to know where you guys are in the world, because that's really, really cool and interesting to find out where everybody from Team Shot Science is.
Yeah.
So while we're doing our question and answers, keep sending those in, and we'll shout some of you guys out. Okay. Monte Babik says hello from Croatia.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. That is cool.
Sebastian Chablo says they're from England. Giancarlo Hernandez says Italy. Awesome. Cool to have you guys here. Okay, so keep sending those in. This one's from Dexter Smooth, who says, I practice my shooting form every day, and I still can't get it right. Any advice?
It could be that maybe you need a little bit of help on that. We don't know what your shot looks like, but if you take and go onto our YouTube channel, you'll find that there is a series of videos there on shooting in that playlist, and maybe there's something there that you can pick out that will help you with your shot.
Yeah, and here's some other things that you can do too that are a little bit proactive. One of them is record your shooting
Yep.
for yourself.
Yep.
Take a look at what you're doing, and if you have like an iPhone, you should be able to not only record video but also record slow motion. Do it from all different angles, and then go back and compare it to the videos that we have in our video library where we show you all the elements that you need, and make sure that you're putting all those pieces together. And you can also go check out our video series called How to Fix Your Shot.
Yes.
Maybe one of those little fixes will help you kind of get things in line. But again, this goes back to what we were talking about at the top, and that is that you need to take these small incremental steps, use the 3 pillars of practice, and you will probably be able to get that turned around.
That brings up a little thing that we oftentimes use a lot. It's called FIO, and that is figure it out. And so what you need to do is figure out what you're doing with your shot. And you can do that on our videos possibly. And you can even send us a video.
Link.
We'll take a link, and we'll watch it for you and tell you what we think. But there's probably one or maybe several small things that you're doing or not doing that are keeping you from being successful.
Yep. Okay, this one is from Michael Litton, who says, I'm always kicking butt on my high school basketball team, but I always struggle on my travel team because I get too tired. What do you recommend for conditioning?
Gosh.
I would say that, it's when it comes to conditioning and stuff, it comes down to each person is different. But I would say go check out our video series on the vertical jump.
Yes.
Because we not only have stuff about developing your athleticism, but also conditioning. I would also say go check out our friends Alan Stein and Drew Hanlon on Pure Sweat, and they kind of give you some different conditioning things that would be good for you to check out. Right. But doing things that are basketball, functionally basketball related.
Right.
So that you're not just doing some endurance running and you're running for 40 minutes or you're running for 8 miles or whatever. That is not a good way to approach conditioning for basketball. Basketball is a lot of sprint and stops.
Yep.
And so
short bursts.
Yeah, so train yourself doing that stuff. And we really like interval training where you are pacing at a high interval, so you're doing a sprint for a certain period of time, and then you stop and you do a slow or periodic interval. So you are going fast, slow, and that might be sprint to jog or sprint to brisk walk.
Or a shuffle step.
Yep. And you are doing that kind of in small interval chunks because that's really how basketball is played. It is not played as an endurance. Yeah. And then doing things like jump rope, ladder drills. I mean, there's so many things that have crossover into like the footwork and things like that too. Yeah. Okay, Eddie Muyanga is asking about these other people that purport that you should use your legs and kick your legs out or something like that on your shooting. We do not agree with that stuff because you are adding complexity to your shooting, and it really serves no purpose.
Exactly.
It is not efficient. It is actually probably going to make your shot harder to be consistent and repeat. It is not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough said.
Yeah. This one is from King Benaiah, who says, I don't have confidence when I'm playing with better people. Any advice?
Oh, yes. I love this question. We get this every week, and it's something that just maligns young players so much. We don't have confidence in ourselves because we feel like we won't be successful and help our team. We feel a lack of confidence in ourselves that if we don't get certain things done, our teammates are going to be angry at us. Here's what the whole thing is about. You want to take and use that formula we talked about here at the start of this program today to make yourself better. And then when you have an opportunity, you want to take it, and you want to take it by the horns. You don't want to take and be holding back. One of the things that happens is that we are so afraid of being judged by our teammates, being judged by people in the stands. Maybe it's other parents or other teams or whatever. You got to let go of all of that and just do what you do. And you'll find that after a while, your confidence begins to elevate, and you're going to feel better about yourself as a player. And probably your success is going to be taking off from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to a mental switch that you
Yeah.
have to have for yourself. And
Right.
there's a couple of sayings that I think are good in this situation. One of them is no risk, no reward.
Exactly.
So you have to have a risk before you can get anything back. And that comes down to letting go of kind of this fear of failure.
Yeah.
And so also I would say another thing to keep in mind is that you should fear regret more than failure. And,
Well, yeah, and then a final one I think is probably even more
they're
important.
coming to get us. Hold on. Keep talking.
Okay. The other thing that's really important in my book too is that you never make a shot you never take. And you're playing basketball because you want to score, you want to contribute to your team, and so the important thing for you to remember is this: let fear go, and if you and go ahead and shoot the ball. Are you going to make them all? No, nobody does.
And what is
The thing that's real important though is don't be afraid to pull the trigger.
And what is the real penalty that you're going to have happen to you after that? Is somebody going to say, hey, crap shot, or you suck? Who cares, man?
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just laugh that stuff off. I mean, it's somebody's opinion of you in that moment is not going to do anything. So whatever. And I know that's hard to flip that switch, but you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And
You do.
once you do it, you'll find that you will be able to become a great player. Let's see here. This one's from Fire Type Hunter 27, who says, so I have begun to work on my vertical to be a better rebounder and maybe dunk eventually. I'm 12 and 5'8". If I stress my body too much, will it affect my growth? I think that has been debunked. I think that the real issue is that young people have a tendency to not use proper form and technique, and so they get injured. And injuring yourself is not something that you want to do. It really is. It's imperative that you find somebody that knows what they're doing and can help you with that stuff. And it's also something where if you're 12 years old, I think that's a little too early to really be working on that stuff.
Well, and a thought that comes to my mind there, Casey, is what kind of work are you doing? Are you doing this with free weights or machines or
Functional.
things like that? Yeah, because personally, I don't agree with that. I think Casey would agree with that too. That
You should not be doing resistance weight training when you're 12.
When you're 12 years old, you have growth plates in your joints, your flexible joints, that you can damage if you take and go too heavy on that kind of stuff.
And I think that the real thing too is that, and we talk about this all the time as well, is that you will be upping your value as a player as you go along in your career of whatever it may be. If you have your skills up higher than if you put more time into developing your conditioning and athleticism in your body and all that stuff, those things are important. But if you don't have the skill development, then it won't matter.
That's true.
Because there's plenty of guys that make it all the way to the top in the NBA and they can't do a push-up.
Yeah.
So if you have the skills to put the ball in the basket and to defend the basket, then you will be in good shape. Yep. If you can only bench press 400 pounds and you can dribble the ball off of your foot and can't make a 3-foot basket, then you know what is the point? What is the use? And
Skills.
It takes more time to develop your body and strength and power and all that stuff than it does to work on your skills and really get that stuff going. 2 hours a day on your skill development or 2 hours a day on your strength and conditioning. I would say invest in your skill development.
And especially when you're a young person like you are.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens is that when you make it to the higher levels of basketball, whether that's college or pro or whatever, they build that time in for you guys.
Right.
And so it's not like you have to set time aside to do that stuff. It's like you pretty much come in as a package of skill develop athleticism already, and then they can add in that stuff to help give them the edge.
Right.
But you don't have to go crazy on that stuff when you're just a kid in high school or middle school. Not worth your time.
Exactly right.
Michael Litton is asking, can you guys make a video with ladders? Yeah, we'll do that at some point. Razor Shooter 35 says, so I have a problem with my gym. It's really small. My team practices there, but when we play games, we play them in the big gym, so I can't adapt.
You can adapt. The one thing that you find is that usually in the course of the first few minutes, maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes of a basketball game, when you're playing in a larger venue than normally you're used to, there is a period of time where you kind of accommodate to that space. and I wouldn't worry about it too much because you will adapt.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you need to get more experience playing, get out more. If you're just playing in one gym, that's not going to help you as much as playing in different gyms, playing in different playgrounds, playing different venues, period.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and this goes back to Hoosiers, the movie, is that it doesn't matter where you go, the basket is always 10 feet high.
That's right.
So, you could be playing in Madison Square Garden, or you could be playing on the playground with your buddies. It's the same height.
Yeah.
So really, just try to block all that other stuff out and relax.
Actually, you should relish the bigger floor. And the reason I say that is then that allows you to spread that defense out more when you're on the offensive end. And that gives you a possibility of more gaps to get to the basket.
And then Razor Shooter 35 says, I noticed it in our last game since we played on a small court and I had 35 points. Okay, going off of one game is not a good way to make an assessment of yourself.
Yeah, really.
Okay, Java Brown says they are from Memphis, Tennessee.
All right.
Fire Type Hunter 27 says, I'm from Michigan. Mate Babik says they're from Split, Croatia. Nevsky Nevitz says hello from the Philippines. Razor Shooter 35 is from Croatia. No Reaction Z is from the UK. And then the Cube Junior is from Valencia, Spain. Awesome, you guys keep sending us where you guys are from.
That's great.
Let's see. This one is from No Reaction Z, who says, I'm new to basketball. How important would you say court vision is for a point guard, especially? How can you improve it?
Oh, your vision as a point guard is just one of the most important items that skills you can develop. When we're young, we have a tendency to watch the basketball as we dribble it, and we don't get our eyes up the floor. We don't see people when they come open. Maybe one of your players makes a back cut and he's coming open, but you don't see him, and so you can't get him the basketball. So court vision is really important. I'm coming up the court in the backcourt, and I've got my head down, and I don't see a double team coming, and so they double team me all of a sudden, and so now I'm in a panic mode as to what to do. And so by getting your eyes up the floor, then you can see and anticipate other things that may be happening, either for your team or the defense may be executing presses and stuff like that on you. So it is super important to have really good vision.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a point guard or anybody. I mean, you need to have court vision, because
absolutely.
You could be playing center, and if you don't see the guy cutting, you can miss a great opportunity to drop him the ball.
Yes, exactly so. And so vision is really, really important.
And, a lot of that is there's a mental aspect of it where you have to learn how to get out of that kind of tunnel vision that you might have. You need to really work on creating kind of awareness in your peripheral vision. You need to also sever the ties of needing to look at the basketball while you dribble. And just a lot of that, too, comes with building up confidence around your ability to handle the basketball.
Yeah, and that comes from time and experience doing it. Casey, take a moment and just kind of talk about hard vision and soft vision a little bit.
Well, put me on the spot. Hard vision is like if you are focused on something. So I'm looking directly ahead of me, and I'm looking at this camera that we're talking to you guys with, and I'm only focusing on that, but I'm forgetting about everything else that's happening out here. And that soft vision is stuff that I can see out here off to the side. It's hard to do it in this camera view, but I can see stuff all the way off into about 180 degrees off into the side of my face. I have my arms straight out, and I can still see my fingers wiggling as I'm staring at you guys. Yeah. So if I can see that, then I can see most of everything that's in front of me on the basketball floor, whether that's my teammate over there that's being guarded off by his defensive guy that I can hit him with the ball, or if that's my other teammate that's cutting off on the other side. So you need to learn how to have that soft focus, even though you might have that harder focus on some specific target.
Right.
Okay. Let's see here. Nevsky Nevitz is asking, have you heard anything about Yugo step? No, we know about the Euro step. Is that the same thing? I'm not really sure. Maybe if it's something different, let us know, and we'll try to check it out.
Yeah.
Mate Babik is asking, I'm a streaky shooter. How can I improve my consistency?
Consistency improves with practice. It's that simple. One of the things that you hear stories about Steph Curry is that he shoots 1,000 shots before practice every day. And what he's doing there, he's really working on efficiency of his stroke and release and all of that. And so that's how you get to be more consistent. I had a young student here today that was working on his shot, and he was telling me, Coach, I'm shooting 500 shots a day. Well, you could sure see it, because all of a sudden, over a period of maybe 2 weeks, he'd gone from being just kind of okay to just really stroking it nice. And so it all has to do with repetition and making sure that your stroke has really a good mechanic pattern. And mechanic pattern, we're talking about what the stroke looks like. Are we finishing it the way we should be finishing? Have we got the elbow in? Are we elevating so we get a nice arc? Those are all elements that really help you to that shooting. And so I would figure that stuff out first, and then I would spend a lot of time just working on that stroke.
Yeah, I would say that if you want consistent results, you have to have consistent practice, like you were saying. And I think the other thing is that, you know, it's one of the tenets of our shooting method and techniques is that you need to have an efficient shot.
Yep.
You can't have something that has all these different complexities added to it, all these variables that are hard to repeat, because the more junk and moving parts that you have on your shot, the harder it is to make it repeatable. And the repeatability is what gives you the accuracy, which leads to the baskets actually happening. So if you are able to cut out all the junk, whether that's that hitch or the dipping the ball, or if it's snapping your hand down, or you know, whatever it may be, eliminate all that stuff. Make your shot as simple and fluid as possible, and it's so much easier to repeat it every single time. Well, that's why you see these great shooters, and their shot looks exactly the same every single time.
And that is referred to most often as muscle memory. You can also have really bad muscle memory too, and meaning that you don't execute any of that stuff very efficiently. So efficiency is really important.
Yeah. Okay. So Nevsky Nevitz says, how can I set up a simple play in some outdoor pickup games when you don't really know each other? Okay. I think it's not really the setting to set up a bunch of offensive plays.
Yeah.
Typically, the best advice that we could give you on that is to learn how to move without the ball.
Yep.
And you know, you can't really harp that much on the guys that you're playing with in pickup games, but I mean, you can offer a suggestion. But the best way to actually have motion without having set plays is to learn to move without the ball.
Yep.
And whether that's doing an L cut, a V cut, back cut, setting screens, flashing in the post. I mean, there's so many things that you can do that make it hard for the defense to really follow what you're doing. Filling in the spot for somebody that cuts or moves. You know, if you're just standing there doing a shell drill, that's so easy to defend.
Sure.
But if you have motion baked in with all of these moving without the ball aspects, then you don't really need to have a set motion.
Well, and that if you're working in pickup games, I think that's what he was talking about in pickup games. I would tell you this, is learn to play some with some basketball automatics. What are they? They're give and goes. They're screen and rolls. They're back cuts, attack and get a back cut. Those basic kinds of plays, you don't really have to take and spend a whole lot of time teaching to people a lot of stuff. One of the ththings that I found, and if you're around me very long, you kind of know what this means, is that most basketball, especially youth basketball today, and even high school basketball, is what we call running on rails. In other words, they have play motions where it's all choreographed for you. And choreography means that you do this particular thing here, and then you go do something over there, and that's how it's all choreographed. And then there usually is somebody who gets a good-looking shot. Well, the thing is that basketball, it becomes really effective when we are maybe run on rails for a bit, and then we jump off those rails to get a back cut, or we take and jump off those rails to make a flash cut to the middle. And so those things, I think, are way more important than worrying about team motions that you could run in a pickup game.
Yeah. Okay. You guys, sorry, but we lost all of our questions. So if you have something that you've submitted in the last like 10 minutes or something, send those back to us again, because they got scrubbed from our thing. But we will take this time right now to talk about the 3 pillars of practice.
Okay.
Because we like to do that pretty much every time that we have these shows. And the 3 pillars of practice are this, and it's a good way to structure and approach your practice. Oh, looks like we got some of them back.
Yeah, they're jumping back. Yeah.
But it's really a way to structure your practice and your approach to practice that we think will help you develop every aspect of basketball. So right now I'm just going to use shooting as the kind of element of basketball that we're talking about, but you could fill that in with any other aspect, whether it's defense or whatever, dribbling, whatever. And that is pillar number one is you need to work on a slowed down, dialed in execution of these skills where you're really trying to polish everything. So for shooting, that would be working on the form shooting drill, really working on looking at every single element of your shooting. So, you're working on getting the ball into the right place. You're working on having the proper footwork. You're working on having the right elevation of the ball and the right release. Everything is meticulously worked on and slowed down. Second pillar of practice is game speed, game intensity work. So you're taking the things that you did in the first pillar and you're amping that up to what you would see in terms of intensity in a game. So you're working on shooting off the dribble. You're working on shooting off the catch. You are adding in a defender. You are visualizing a defender. Whatever it may be, you're doing it at the intensity of a game and speed of a game. Third pillar is taking all of the things that you learned in the first two pillars and applying them to experience in actual games. So that means pickup games, traveling team games, high school games, whatever it may be, but getting as much experience using those individual skills that you worked on in a setting, in a competitive setting.
Right.
And when you put all those things together, and that's how you approach your practice, you will find that you will have laid the groundwork and things will come to you much easier than if you had tried to force your way through any of that stuff.
Yeah, if you don't practice the game speed, you can just about count you're not ever going to be very effective because you're playing at a slower speed than everybody else whenever the game starts. And it's hard to speed up when you're not used to that.
Right. Okay.
Well, we got those back in spades, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to find where we left off here. Okay, we got Momar Indaye who says, hi, I'm from Senegal.
All right.
Costas Sutuis says, hi, I'm from Greece. Ali Abukar Ali says they're from London.
All right.
Awesome. Great to see you guys here. Keep sending us, telling us where you guys are from.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, let's see here. Karen Bray says, how do you improve lateral quickness and overall defense? Again, you have to put in the work. Yeah. Lateral quickness, if you do things like the ladder drills, LADDER drills, using a kind of footwork ladder. If you work on dot drills, there's a lot of conditioning and footwork drills that you can do that will really help you with that stuff. Yeah. When it comes to overall defense, get down the defensive stance and defensive slide. We talk about that stuff in our Defense 101 videos, and really work on step drag instead of step.
Yeah, where you pull your feet together. You don't want to do that. When you pull your feet in, they don't want to come together because you become more erect when you do that. And so what we take, if we're going to slide to the right, we point our toe and reach in that direction with that foot, and then we pull the other one in. So it's step drag, but they never come closer together than about 16 inches. That way it allows us to take those shorter, quicker steps to keep you in front of the offense.
Okay, Ali Abukar Ali says, what sort of diet should I have? Okay, we are not nutritionists, so we cannot really give you definitive answers on that. We will just say that it's good to have a nice, healthy diet with lean proteins, high in vegetable matter, and try to limit the amounts of sugar and sugary drinks and things like that you drink. It's okay to treat yourself every once in a while, but having a healthy approach to your diet is always good.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Amin Dawo says, I want to increase speed and stamina. Do you think losing weight will help? We are not going to tell you to lose weight or not, because we are not your doctor. We are not your nutritionist. We are not, we don't know you. So we can't tell you that. Of course, if you are overweight or unhealthily overweight, then yeah, that's probably going to help you. But we don't know you personally. If you want to increase your speed and stamina, you need to do some athletic conditioning.
Right.
And that is something that we would direct you to our vertical jump series.
Right.
And we would also say, again, the interval training that we talked about earlier.
Right. And also getting back to Alan and his program.
And Drew,
well.
yeah. Okay, Andrew de Moscou says, hi from Moscow, Russia.
All right.
I'm almost 29 and just started practicing. I don't play, just practice, dribble, and shooting drills. Is it okay to use the game just for recreational purposes as daily fitness?
Sure.
Of course.
Sure. Yeah. Basketball is supposed to be a game of fun. Certainly, you're going to compete, and that becomes a major element. And when we play, but yeah, that's what it's all for. It's for fun.
Yeah, and you should never be afraid to play or use it the way that you want to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you're not. I mean, you're not. Are you playing against anybody? I mean, if you're not doing it with anybody, it doesn't hurt anybody. So have fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Karen Brace. Oh, we already asked that one. Momar Ndaye says, when I'm training, I can do moves good and make shots, but in games, when the defender is in front of me, I panic and just do whatever. How can I build confidence?
Well, if you listened a few minutes ago, Casey gave the formula for how you can develop some confidence, the 3 pillars of practice. And so maybe go back in this video, maybe 2 minutes, and you'll be able to listen to what Casey is describing about how you can make yourself better.
Yeah, but I think also go check out our video, Making Practice Missing Games, and you will see that there's a problem. And, this goes back to what you were saying about the 3 pillars of practice, but there's a disconnect between the way that you practice and the way that you see things when you get into a game.
Exactly.
And that is the way that you practice should be at least partially how you see yourself in the game as well.
Yeah.
Second pillar of practice is one that we would suggest that you check out.
Exactly.
Let's see here. This one is from Prov Bean, who says, hey there, I'm a skinny guy. How could I body a player if the opponent is bigger than me and is driving in?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't understand exactly what you mean by bodying them, whether you're actually getting up into your body and kind of bumping them, or if you're using your forearm for leverage. Not sure what you mean there, but the thing that you want to do there when the person is driving is, and we teach this, you want to use a little leverage on your forearm to the side of their body. That doesn't mean that arm can come away, because if the arm comes away from your body, they're probably going to call you for it. But if you're up snug and you've got the forearm on them, and you can just kind of ride them a little bit and force them. Now, we like to look at defense, individual defense like this, that if I'm playing you, you've got the ball and you are attacking the basket, I want to force you to go to the sidelines. I don't want you to get into the paint ever. I mean, that's a no man's land. And so what we want to do is force them to the sideline. The only way you can do that, especially if they're big and strong guys, is they're going to try and leverage or force you, and so you have to take and fight that and push them to the sideline.
Well, here's, I think, is the best approach is before all that even happens, is number one, beat them to the spot.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to play catch up the whole time, you're not a good defender.
Yeah.
But if you are beating them to the spot and you're anticipating where they're going and you set yourself and establish your feet, then they're going to either have to stop and go around you,
or knock you down.
And then you can readjust, or they're going to plow into you, in which case they would get a charging foul.
Yeah.
So you need to learn to do that kind of stuff. You don't need to out-muscle anybody in basketball. People seem to think that that's how you get ahead. That's not basketball. It does have a physicality to it, but it's not a wrestling match.
No, it's not.
You can outsmart people. You can use the rules of basketball to your advantage. And if you're beating that guy to the spot and he's plowing over you, then he's going to keep getting that foul called until he adjusts himself.
And he should be getting a little frustrated. The whole idea, though, of using that forearm for leverage, that is important for you to control those guys who are bigger and stronger.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, too, is that's fine, but you should also be angling to recover and not angling to maintain that. Right. Because if you're just sitting there going along with them as they take you on a ride to the basket, then you've only made their job easier.
Exactly.
So get around in front of them.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Shahid Wims says, is it more important to train during the off season or should you play in a league?
Hey, I think it's a combination of things, kind of what Casey was saying a while ago, and
Three
the
pillars
three
of
pillars
practice.
of practice. I mean, that is really important. And you should be practicing if you're really into basketball. You should be practicing year round, and play becomes a part of that if you're using that formula of the three pillars. And if you weren't here for that, you might go back and check. And it's probably 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes ago, where Casey explains that is how you develop your game.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, they just want to go play games, but
Yeah.
if you want to get better, that doesn't make you better,
Yeah.
especially at the pace and with the foundation that you need.
Exactly.
And you really need to take the time to work on your individual skill development. Okay, this one's from Sean Paul. He says, "Hello, I'm good at dribbling, but my coach says that I can't shoot, mainly because I jump too high on my shot. How can I stop jumping too high, and can I have a playlist to improve my handles?" Okay, let's talk about the last thing you say, a playlist to improve your handles. Go check out our, I think it's ball handling or offensive moves playlist. I think I might have even put a link down in the bottom of this video, and that would be a good place to start. And you can see all of our dribble attacks and dribbling 101 and all of the things in there that we think will help you become a better ball handler. Number 2 is you're asking about how to stop jumping too high. I think that you have to look at it like this. Is your shot going in consistently, and is it a good shot? In which case, it doesn't matter what you're doing in terms of jumping high. But if you're jumping to a comfortable height and releasing the ball before you get to the top of your jump, then it's probably
You're okay.
good to go.
Yeah.
There is no like gauge on, oh, that's too high or that's too low. Most everybody's going to be different. If you look at Stephen Curry and you see how high he gets off the ground, it's not very high compared to somebody like Ray Allen, who gets way off the floor.
Right.
But both of those guys are extremely efficient shooters.
Right.
So it really comes down to what works for you and what works for your body.
Well, what's comfortable for you? If you take a look at some of the, like Casey was talking about, the great shooters around, Steph Curry doesn't really elevate that much. And I don't think probably Klay Thompson does either, but they're both very capable of getting to the basket and dunking it, so they've got some verticality. But the thing that's really important here is that it does not you cannot jump higher than you can jump. That's simple.
Well,
you have a height of jump that should be comfortable for you.
Yeah.
If you're forcing anything more than that, trying to get more elevation, your body tenses up like this. And so when it tenses up, forget accuracy or anything else, because it's not going to be there. We want to jump to a comfortable height so our body is relaxed and we can shoot the ball effectively.
And one thing I will say too is that if you're trying to out jump your defender on your shot, then that's a mistake as well.
Yeah.
If you are trying to out jump those guys.
Yep.
If you are not getting enough space to get your shot off that you need to do that to jump higher than them, then you haven't done the job to create enough space to get the shot off, and it's not a good shot.
Right.
So you need to do the work to create space before the shot, whether that's without the ball or with the ball.
Exactly.
Okay, this one is from Azu, who says, "I'm good at basketball, but trying to prove someone I'm good, like coaches, friends, or something, who think I suck or not if I play in front of them." Okay. You do not need to prove to anyone that you're good. I mean, I think that if that's what you're trying to do is validate yourself like that, that's not a good approach. I think that if you go out there and you play hard, and you've done the work behind the scenes to make yourself a good player, then you don't need to prove to anybody that you're a good player. You just are a good player. And if you're trying to make a team or something like that, go check out our videos on how to make the team, and we talk about the specific things that coaches look for outside of skills that you can turn on immediately that will help you in getting picked
Exactly right.
to play on a team.
Exactly right. And don't put so much credence in what other people might think of you. The thing that is really important is, what do you think of yourself, and how much work are you doing to improve your game so that you get better?
Yep. Okay, let's see here.
That's a nice little comment there.
Where?
Go down. Keep going. There's somebody from Arizona. All right.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. But here's one from Trajan James, who says, "How can I build my endurance for late in the game moment?" You got to train at different levels of fatigue. We think that doing the interval training and mixing in your actual basketball training together will help you do that. So that you feel, when you get into the deep fourth quarter, you feel like you've actually been there before because you've fatigued yourself to the point where you can still execute those basketball skills.
Exactly.
Deets asks, where do you think Kevin Durant is going? I don't know.
We know where we want him to go.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh, there it is right there.
This?
Yeah, thanks, coaches.
I don't. Where?
It's right here.
Shahid Wim says, thanks, coaches.
You bet. Glad we could help.
Let's see. Amin Dawo says, I know it sounds silly, but how can I increase the chances of me becoming taller? You can't.
No.
Your height is basically predetermined because of your genetics.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can do is have a healthy diet, but even then, that would only help you get to your potential that is probably already set.
Yeah.
People think that you can do certain things, drink certain things, or do certain exercise. None of that stuff helps. No. Don't believe people that tell you that it does.
Yeah.
You're basically, you've already been predetermined.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Vafa, we'll just call you Vafa.
Okay.
Says, I can shoot very well when I spot up, but I can't shoot when I pull up from a dribble. My shot is very inconsistent. How can I improve my shot off the dribble?
How about practice? I mean, that's being a little sarcastic, but the thing is that most of us, when we're learning how to shoot, we shoot off the catch or we shoot free throws. And one of the things that I was working with this young guy today is we were shooting off the dribble because he wasn't very effective either. And he was short, he was right, he was left. And after about 10 minutes or so, he began to kind of dial it in, and it began to feel better because he was spending time on it.
Footwork.
Now, I know footwork is super important. And one of the things going to happen is the next time I see him, he's going to have spent time on that, and he's going to be better because that's the kind of kid he is. And so it all comes down to spending time on those elements.
Break it down. Do it slow. Your footwork on that stuff is going to be the most important part.
Yep.
And off the dribble too, that last dribble that you put down on the floor has got to be a real rocket that comes right back up to your hand.
Yeah.
And if you go look at our video on this stuff, shooting off the dribble, you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take 2 more questions, then we're going to get out of here. This one is from Zorik, who says, how do I defend a faster player one-on-one? Beat them to the spot. Use your feet. Make them run into you or change directions. I mean, that's really...
Well, you might have to give a little ground even.
Yeah.
If they're a little quicker than you, you might have to pull off them just a little bit. But if you go to our defensive videos, the tutorials, it kind of explains there some of the things that we think are important. One of the things that I'll tell you right now is that we never teach anybody to have a lead foot. In other words, one foot in advance of the other, because basketball has evolved over the generations. And one of the things they found a long time ago was the fact that if you've got your 1 foot forward of the other one, I'll attack that forward foot, and I usually can get by you. And so we have a square up situation where both feet are squared up to our defender. One is not ahead of the other.
Yeah, don't give them an option to
that's
attack.
not just something that we thought up. That's kind of the way basketball defense is taught more this day.
Daft Powell 23 says, what can I do while I'm injured? I got an ankle sprain, but I'd like to do something so when I come back to the court, I'm not so rusty. Work around these injuries. You know, there's so many people that they'll...
Did you say what kind of an injury that was?
Ankle sprain.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I mean, you sprained your ankle. Does that mean your arms don't work?
Yeah.
You can get out there and you can sit in a chair and you can work on your dribbling or just stand there.
Yeah.
I mean, ankle sprain it's a bummer, but it's not something that's going to have you out for very long.
Right. That's a great time to work on your ball skills, particularly your weekend ball skills. And so
and
Casey's
work on
right.
your shooting release.
And the shooting release. I mean, you use your legs certainly, but usually, even if we have a bad sprain, that's not going to keep us from actually getting a little extension on the shot.
Yeah, and people, you know, if you break an arm, maybe it's your strong, dominant arm, that's a perfect opportunity to work on that offhand
Absolutely.
and really get that dialed in.
Yeah.
If you dribble around, and you can also work on your shooting release. I mean, there's so many things you can do. So, we're not going to get into that. So yeah, there's never something that should limit you unless you have just been blasted and you were in a body cast or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for all your questions. If we didn't get to your
thanks.
question, it's not because we don't like you, it's because we just ran out of time. if you want, you can catch us during the week. We are on all these different social media platforms, whether that's Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You tell us. We are there. We are at Shot Science, and you can reach us there and see what we're doing on all those different spots. We would love it if you guys would go out and tell all your friends and family to check out Shot Science Basketball and join Team Shot Science. And we typically do these shows Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific time, but sometimes you'll catch us at other times. But thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.